Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to try this again. Due to the coronavirus, Vets for Vets has temporarily suspended all operations. However, we thought it would be fun to catch up with some of our members using Instagram Live. Comments are turned off as to eliminate distractions, but we may turn them on at the end, time permitting. Today, we're going to be talking with Desiree, so let's see if she's online and add her to the conversation.
Okay, hopefully this works.
Oh yeah, that's gonna work. Yeah, you got to have kind of a good Wi-Fi connection to make this thing work. I think it's good now. Your picture's clear and you sound great. How are you, Des?
I'm good. Josh?
Yes. Well, I just mentioned before we started that Vets has suspended all of its operations due to the coronavirus, and there's a lot of issues out there that we just felt it was necessary to stop and pause and wait for this whole thing to pass. But we thought this would be kind of a fun idea to get caught up with people. So
Sure.
before we get into like questions, um, people probably want to know like your history. So like, what sports team did you dance for in the NBA, and how long did you perform?
So I had the privilege of dancing for the Portland Trailblazers, which of course, fortunately, is where you work as well.
Hmm.
That's how we met. I got to dance for 5 awesome years, and then I went on to coach and stuff later. But that's the professional team that I come from.
And what years did you perform for the Blazers? When did you
So
start?
I started, yeah, I started in 2001,
Mhm.
and my final season I ended in 2006.
Nice. Um, you know, Being a dancer or being a performer for a professional sports team, you make a lot of friendships,
Yeah.
and you have a lot of memories. Can you share with Instagram here, like any special memories that you can as an NBA dancer for the Trailblazers?
So that's a great question because that's a hard one because it's hard to come up with like just a
Hmm.
memory. But things that when I think back about it that I remember the most is I always tell people back when I danced back in the early 2000s, they still allowed us to sit on the sidelines,
Back in the old
um,
days.
right on the court, so right in front of the front row. So we really did have like the best seats in the house. And so getting to be a dancer for the Blazers and getting to sit there, I got to see the greats play.
Hmm.
This is when Michael Jordan was still playing. Kobe Bryant, Scottie Pippen. I mean, just Shaq was still playing. So getting to see them up close and personal, even to the point where they would sometimes even land on us or fall on us. I mean, it just would made the whole thing an experience just exciting, and we were always very into the game because we were right there. It wasn't like you could get distracted into, thinking or doing something else. I mean, the game was right in front of us. So I felt like we were really a part of the game the whole time. So that's just
Right.
something I think about that, if I was to go back to a Blazer game now, I don't get those kind of seats. I'm way up in the who knows where. So that's something I'll never forget. I mean, performing in front of thousands of people, that's just something you'll never forget. That's just something you don't get to normally do. And I think the best part of it all is getting paid to do something that I love. That's the
Yeah.
best because it's the best job on the planet. That's how I felt. So,
That brings up a good question because I've never even asked you this, and we've had many discussions. What do you remember about the very first time you ran on that court and performed? Do you remember that? Is that something embedded in your mind? I mean, that's
I
20,000
think
people.
no, it's more of a blur because you're very nervous.
Hmm.
However, that routine, I mean, I know it by heart because I think when it's your first time doing something like that, you work super hard, and it's still so ingrained that when the music even comes on today, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can do this whole routine right now. Like it will never leave my body just because I wanted to make sure that my first time on the court in front of in front of the fans, with my new teammates, with my new coach, you want to impress, you want to, make sure that you feel like you want them to feel like they made the right choice putting you on the squad, right? So
Yeah.
you want to make sure you go out there and you just show that. And so that's what it comes down to is that's what I remember is the nerves, but you're super excited. I love to perform. So even though you're super nervous, once the music kicks on and you get going, it's just an absolute blast. And but it's a blur. Your first game's a blur because it's just like a whirlwind. I mean, it's everything's so new. You're adjusting to everything that's around you. Cameramen, the people. I mean, it's a whole new world when you're out there on the floor. So it was an adjustment.
Are you the kind of dancer that is like really hard on yourself if you make a minor mistake, or are you the kind of person like, okay, I just made a mistake, I just move on from there? Because I know some people like make the tiniest mistake and they're all upset about it. Because I guess I'm wondering, like, do you remember, like, did you make any mistakes that very first night?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And you just blew it off.
I mean, my biggest one, and I think your first year. I mean, I guess there was mistakes throughout but one of my biggest ones is, and it was a super obvious mistake because we all are in the center, and there's a point when we're all supposed to spread out and run into a leap. Mm-hmm. And I was an 8 count early, so I was the only one that went out and ran out and did a leap all by myself, and then I get up to turn around and come back, and everyone's coming at me, and I'm like, oh my. So for me, what you do is you turn around and you just keep on going, and I just act like I was supposed to do that. Like I was supposed to have a solo there. It's okay. You just keep on rolling.
Was that your first year? That wasn't the first game, though, right? That was the first year, though?
No, it was the first game. It was my first year.
First game, first year?
No, it was not my first game.
Do you remember who they played that game? Because I want to go find the video.
John, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
No I want to go find the video. I don't remember that.
I think unless that's the thing is that's maybe something I'm really good at. I'm really good at acting like and playing it off like it was supposed to be that way. So
and that's what you should do, right? Isn't that what you're taught to do? Isn't that what you're taught to do? Isn't that what you're taught to do? Like, just
yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do. And I mean, not everyone maybe handles it the same way, but I figure if I don't act like I've made a mistake, then no one will really know I made a mistake. The only people that know is definitely myself. And yes, my teammates all know about it, but they're not going to stop and laugh at me. They're going to keep going. So I just got to kind of kick it in and join in. And then we always talk about it later. We go in the back and we're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, because over the years, I've seen some outfit malfunctions and like a hat coming off or something happening. But people, they don't stop and like put the hat on. They continue to perform, and then they deal with it afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had wardrobe malfunctions is definitely something I struggled with. So many, it's not even funny. And actually, what's so funny is that one of the wardrobe malfunctions I had, the whole top it came off. And I literally was kind of holding it on, and the picture was taken, and they used it for an advertisement, which is still to this day, I don't even understand why they would pick up all the pictures that are taken. The one that I'm literally hanging on to my top.
You're kidding.
And that was the one that was used for, I don't even know, to advertise for something, for Blazers or something.
No wonder you got to be so popular.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah. Wow, I've never even heard that story. That is a great story.
Oh yeah, no, I got too many. Some are a little personal. Some it's really hard to sometimes share because like you don't even know what was falling out on that floor.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Vets for Vets a little bit. You've been on Vets for Vets since the beginning. What type of events have you done as a member that you can remember over the years that you've been a member?
Oh man, or
maybe some of the special events that you've done, maybe.
Well, I think everything to me is special. So, I mean, I don't look at anything. I mean, some things I think maybe I enjoy a little bit more than others. I mean, I did the Wounded Warrior run in Sacramento, California. It was an awesome trip. It wasn't my favorite thing to do. As you know, I'm not the best runner. But I've had the opportunity to go to veterans hospitals and the homes, veterans homes. And one of my favorites, I guess it is one of my favorites, is when we get to participate in the USS Iowa's reunion.
Yeah.
That is incredible. And you really get up close and personal with the people there, and an opportunity to really get to know them more of a personal level instead of just a visit level.
Right.
And seeing how, maybe even like listening to the stories, seeing how important it is of what they did and how they're honored. And I think that's just amazing because it's not something everyone gets to see. And just the respect factor and the respect for our country, to see how much they love and respect our country. I just admire that so much. Yeah. So being able to see that, touring the USS Iowa was a big, huge treat. Loved that. I'm a huge history buff. I love history. So anything that has to do with, you know, our history is even as a country is incredible to me. So been totally blessed to be able to do that.
I tell you, one of my favorite memories of the last time we did the USS Iowa was when we had a World War II veteran at our table, the Marine. And, you know, that's, you know, it's called the greatest generation for a reason. And
Right.
being able to share memories with people like that are a dying breed, that was a great opportunity. Even I enjoy that because, I mean, these guys were in harm's way back in the 40s. And so to
Yeah.
be able to spend a few minutes with this person, listen to their stories is always amazing. So that's one of the things I
Yes.
always like too. So I thought that was
Yes.
great that you guys got a chance to spend some time with him. Speaking of that, like, so when you go out, say you're going to hospitals or nursing homes, or you're doing a 5K run, or you're going to dinners or whatever, what surprises you the most about military personnel and veterans? There's got to be something that surprises you the most.
So that's a great question. And I think what surprises me the most when meeting any servicemen or women is how humble they are. So you know, we go because we want to show our appreciation for who they are, what they've done, their service for our country. That's what we're there for, is we want them to know that they're not forgotten, they are appreciated. Um, but what they do is they flip it and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, no, thank you for coming here. And it's like, this is easy. I mean, that's the fun part. And that's what's always surprising is they're just so thankful to have people say thank you or show appreciation in some form or way. And that always really surprises me because it's like, man, don't they realize how these are like real life heroes? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do anything. I just came to say thank you and participate in maybe an event or do something. And it's so, yeah, it always surprises me how they flip that and how appreciative they are for people to show that to them. They
Right.
really do appreciate being told, you know, thank you for their service and shown appreciation, or even a visit to show that we care. Um, you know, because a lot of these men and women we've met, you know, I think a lot of them feel forgotten, and they're especially ones in the hospitals or in their home in the homes, you know, for veterans. You know, I feel like a lot of them are lonely and they just don't have anybody, and for an opportunity to have someone even for 10 or 5 or 10 minutes to have a conversation and they can share a story or an event or something, I think it means so much to them,
Mm.
and they're humbled by that, and it's
Right.
humbling to me, and so it humbles me back. So it's a really, really cool thing to be a part of. It really is.
I'm going to give you a leading question. Um, it is one of the things that you're surprised about is that when you meet these young men that are serving the country, the type of responsibilities and the types of pressure that they have to go through as young men in the military.
Yeah.
For instance, I'm thinking about the aircraft carrier visit.
Yeah. So that's what I think about too. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
when you say that, so it's one of the first things that pops into my mind is, you know, here we are, we're getting to tour this aircraft carrier, is humongous, massive piece of equipment that's on you know, on the ocean. And as we're touring, we're meeting a guy that is like 19 years old who's in charge of this massive ship, and it almost it takes you back and makes you go, these guys are young, they're really young, and they're making major decisions, like life-changing decisions, and to know that they have that kind of responsibility, it's amazing to me. And
Mm-hmm.
that yeah, so the aircraft carrier meeting that 19-year-old, I'm like, excuse me, I'm sorry, you do what? Like, you're in charge of this thing? Are you kidding me? Like, it was like,
19.
yeah, crazy,
19.
crazy.
And then we're talking about the pressures of young men in war situations. And I'm thinking about the gun simulator,
Yeah, yeah,
about the kind of decisions that they have to make like that and
yeah,
the pressures involved. So talk a little bit about that.
right. So the gun simulator, that was a really fun, I don't know if I should say fun, but it really was fun.
Yeah. It's an eye opener.
Because it's something I will never get to do. It's not a, you know, holding an actual gun. It's a simulator, obviously. They give us a scenario, and we are to act as if we're in the scenario and go in. And the scenario we had was we were going door to door, and, you know, they crack open the door, and there's a guy with kids, and it's kind of chaotic, and everyone's yelling, and he has a remote in his hand, and so the
And there's
scenario
a
is, what do
bomb,
you do?
and it looks like there's a bomb on the table.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
bomb. So
And he's
it's
making these threats.
yes, and it's super intimidating, and going to the simulator, you realize there are decisions being made so quick, and the pressure. I mean, we were in a safe environment. We're in a little studio, doing this, but to be in a place where you aren't safe, and to know that everyone around you has to have your back, and to be put in a scenario where you have to choose to either take that guy out and make a decision going, I think he will blow us up, or maybe he really just has a TV remote. Like it's a very stressful, crazy thing to think about, that these young men and women, like Mike, I have a child that's turning 17, and to know in like a year or two, for him to be in a scenario like that, I cannot even fathom that he would have to make that kind of a decision. Like I don't even think at my age I can make that decision. It just feels very overwhelming. And I guess in that scenario, you just have to react. That's what the training's for. Obviously they train you, and you have to react with what you've been taught. But man, it was even in a safe environment, it was very intimidating.
So if I recall, there was 5 of you in the simulation, and the guy running the simulation, there was a video, and he ran the simulation, and there's this bomb. It looks like a bomb on the table, and the guy has a phone or remote, some kind of, it looks like it could be a detonator, and you just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Des, and ask you how did you react?
You're so funny. I took the guy out. I went for his head and took him out. And only because I think before we entered into the simulator, they gave us a talk about, here's what you're looking for. This is what we asked the guys to do. And they kind of prepped us in going into the scenario. So as soon as I went in and I saw key elements that was already spoken about, I just knew I had to take the guy out immediately, because otherwise we're getting taken out. And so I pulled the trigger and pulled them. And so I remember John's like, who did that? Who shot him? So
because I knew because when they reran the simulation without anybody doing anything, what happened?
Yeah, he blew everyone up. He blew everybody up. So
the kids, the family, your whole team. Yeah. Yeah.
And it literally, if I remember correctly, it's literally seconds. You have seconds to react. And that's what's so amazing is it's, like I said, I was in a safe environment, so I didn't have all the other elements dealing with it, wearing what they have to wear, the weight of the guns, they're probably sweating, they're hot, they're in an unknown environment. There's
12 hours. Maybe they work 12 hours.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, and so I'm in a very safe environment making that choice. You have to imagine they're in an environment where they have all these other elements and they're having to make those choices, and it's like seconds. You have seconds to react. So it's impressive. It just makes me even admire them even more.
And I think that's one of the reasons why, from my standpoint, Vets for Vets is such a great organization, because not only are you guys going out there and showing appreciation, supporting military personnel, veterans, but you're also gaining a lot of experience and getting an understanding what military life is all like. And you at the USS Iowa reunion, and you saw all the ceremonies. Not a lot of people get to see those kind of things. And we've been to promotions, we've been to retirement ceremonies. The military life is really different, and so for people that don't understand the military, it gives them an appreciation of what's really going on out there. So
absolutely,
I think it's great. So I got a couple of questions here, and then we'll let you go. I have an answer in mind, but I'm gonna let you go with it.
Okay. Hopefully I pass the test.
Do you have any funny stories or behind the scenes from any event with Vets for Vets?
Oh my gosh, I totally know what you want me to say. I totally know what you want me to say. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to put it without
You can do the short version.
So the short version is, we had the privilege to fly down to Sacramento to participate in the Wounded Warriors run. Awesome, super excited. 4 of us went down. 2 of us are runners. They are like, and the other 2, which was I was a part of, we were just like, let's just jog and we'll just walk and we'll just take it easy and we'll have a good time. So and I don't run. I mean, I hate to say that, but running is not my forte. It's not something I enjoy.
Right.
Whatever. So as we're going along and we're doing our fast walk and we're kind of jogging. I'm getting passed by moms in strollers and the guys, they wore full garb, like 100, I don't even know how many pounds, and they're all taken and
Full gear.
full gear. And I'm getting passed left and right, and it's one of those things, like your instincts kicked in, like your competitiveness. And so I told Taryn, I'm like, let's go, let's run, let's see if we can't let these guys pass us, let's go. So we're going, right, and we're jogging along, and anyway, long story short, I made it to the end. I think I about died as I came across this finish line. I think I even the picture, I'm like I was like done. And so the funny part about all this is I immediately beelined it to the restroom. And I know John, I don't know how long I was gone. I'm sure John was like, where's Des? All the
Where's
girls are
Des?
here, everyone's here looking around for me. Where's Des? My body was so mad at me. I mean, I was in the restroom and I had things coming out of everywhere. Let's just say that. It was so angry with me, and I was hurting. I was puking. I was a hurting unit. And it's one of those things where I finally came back, and John's like, where have you been? I'm like, you have no idea what I've been through. Like,
Yeah, I didn't know what happened to you.
Made my body do things it didn't want to do, and then it made me pay the price. So I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that was a great trip. I think that was one of our very first road trips, and it's such a great event. The money that they're raising is for a soldier who was wounded in Iraq with an IED and lost both of his legs. So it's a great event. We've done it a few times. We'll probably do it again in the future. But we also got to visit the VA hospital in Sacramento. And that's always a great time too. Yeah. So we're almost done here. Actually, I'm going to go turn on the comments in case anybody has anything else to say. So the comments are on if anybody wants to ask a question. But just lastly, going back to being a dancer, what advice would you give young women who want to perform, say, for an NFL team or an NBA team? And say they're on the high school dance team, and they have this goal of performing for like the Trailblazers or the Lakers or whatever, or the Seahawks. What would be one or two pieces of advice that you would give them?
Oh, well, I think the best thing to do nowadays with what you can do to prepare yourself for doing something professionally is take classes from a lot of different choreographers. Because the way things are done nowadays, when you go to an audition, you're taught probably 3 or 4 routines very quickly, very fast. It's not your choreography, it's not your style, and you have to adapt and be able to pick it up, learn it, and perform it and make it look good. And so that's what I tell people is, if it's something you want to do, take a ton of classes from a ton of different people, because you have to adapt to people's styles. And work hard for it. I mean, you got to put the work in. You can't just show up and expect it to come easy. It's something you have to put the work in. Yeah. So those that put the work in, it shows when it comes to auditions.
Yeah. I kind of forgot one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, the coronavirus has suspended operations for vets. How has the virus affected your own personal life? Like, what adjustments have you had to make in your personal life during this crisis?
Yeah, it's well, I will say we're saving a lot of money. We're not spending any money.
Yeah. Are you doing a lot more cooking?
I would say, what's that?
Are you doing a lot more cooking?
Yes. So I will say probably one of my favorite things is that we have had more family sit-down meals than we have had in years. Yeah. Usually with our schedule with the boys, they have something every night. One of my sons may be working, the other one's got baseball or soccer or football or whatever. So usually I go to work, come home, we usually grab something or grab something on the way out and we go. Now it's like come home from work and we have time to cook. We sit down at a table, we say a prayer. It's like awesome. And the cool thing is I'm also getting to spend time with my boys in the kitchen. I'm teaching them how to cook. It's like, this is the perfect time. Like, you have nothing else to do. Let's teach you how to cook. So I have enjoyed that immensely. I've really enjoyed sitting down at a table, actually having a family dinner. We've had a lot of family movie nights. I mean, that's all you can really do.
Yeah.
It's a lot of social media stuff or TV stuff. So you just got to make the most of it with, with your family that you're with. And we're just trying to make the most of it. Luckily, I live on property. We have space. We can go out and stretch our legs and go on walks and walk our dog and things like that. You just have to have the mindset of just being okay with just being in your house. I mean,
Yeah.
we've already gotten a lot of projects done. That's the other thing. We're getting projects done left and
Me
right. My
too.
garage is cleaned out. Like,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah. The boys are both in school. Are they doing online classes then?
Yeah, so that's interesting as well. It's been an adjustment.
Hmm.
They're both at an age where that what they do in school, I really can't help them with. It's beyond me. So they're pretty much on their own. So my thing is when they have a question, because right now, at least in this school district, they're not doing video Zoom. I think a lot of schools
Right,
are.
right,
The
right.
school district is not doing that yet. So they do pre-recorded videos, the teachers will, and then basically if they have a question, they have to email it. So it's very difficult. They do a lot of reading and a lot of answering questions on what they
Yeah,
read.
yeah,
They do a lot of math. The sad part is though, is that projects and lab work and all those things, they don't get to, it's hard to do that. How do you
yeah,
participate in that when you can't, when you're not, you're not at school? So it's a big adjustment, and the district here is still working on and kinking things and trying to find how can we engage these students and make it not so boring. How can we make this interesting and and things like that. So it is an adjustment.
yeah. Well, it's a good thing that this happened like in March instead of October. So you're only dealing with like April and May for the school year. Whereas
Right.
if this had happened in October, it might have been the entire year would have been this.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in that sense, thank goodness for that, because
Yes.
it's only a short period of time before the summer break starts anyways. Well, Des, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in and chatting with us. And this is something we're going to continue to do while we are, oh, she's reconnecting. There you go. You go
Oh,
ahead
you're
and reconnect.
reconnecting.
Maybe it's time to go. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much, Des. And I'll
Thank you,
talk to you
John.
soon. Take care. Bye.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.